friends, thank you for joining me for devotion once again. Marvin Kanaka, and it's a pleasure to be with you again. Today I want to address a question that a lot of people ask, concerning life. A lot of people say, and I'm one of those that have said that before. A lot of people ask this question: why do bad things happen to good people? And it's a very good question. It's a very logical question, and I think it's a question that we have to ask. Why do bad things happen to good people? So we have to look at a number of things when we think about that question. So as I've thought about that question over the years, I've come up with another question, and I think we'll call it the twin brother of this question that we're dealing with today. And that is, why do good things happen to bad people? Have you ever thought about that? Why do good things happen to bad people? And so now, to strike a balance, would have to determine or define what is a bad person and what is a good person. And when we define those two things, we now reflect it with the scriptures or through the eyes of the scriptures. And one of the first steps that we come across is Jesus said, no one is good. So when we ask the question, why do bad things happen to good people? So we can ask another question. Are there any good people on earth? You see what I'm saying? So, but anyway, not to get into the semantics of this discussion, let me go straight to my point. I believe that in life is controlled by God, first of all. No question about it. Some people question that. Some people refute it completely. That's entirely up to you, whichever stance you take. But as far as I'm concerned, God controls everything in the world and in our lives. And so even the things that happen to us, whether we determine them as good or bad, God is the one that allows those things to come into our lives. And now, if we were to put that into the context of Scripture, I would take us straight to Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 18. And incidentally, interesting, this is a portion of Scripture where the King of Wisdom, King Solomon, opened up by saying in verse 1, there is time for everything. That, in a way, comes into what we're talking about, or affects it in a way, because then we realize, so maybe bad things happen to good people because there's time for everything. Maybe, or maybe that might just partially answer what we're asking ourselves and what we're trying to understand. But let's read the verse though. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 18. It says, I said in my heart concerning the condition of the sons of men, God tests them that they may see that they themselves are like animals. Sounds very insulting, doesn't it? He said, I said in my heart concerning the condition of the sons of men, that God tests them that they may see that they themselves are like animals. Now, in one of the devotions, I dealt with exams and tests, and I was reflecting through the life of Job, how God tested Job and how God examined Job. And he himself, Job, realized that God was always examining him, testing him. And we gave a reason for that. So one of the reasons is because God expects a man to be an exact replica of who God is. So God expects us to show who he is, reveal his character, reveal his personality, reveal the goodness, reveal the grace, reveal the power that God himself is. And so he has to keep checking those things. Is this in the right place, and so on? So he looks at those details. God is a God of detail. And so here, Solomon says that God tests the hearts of men to show them, that they may see. To show them, all right, that they may see. Now, the part saying that they may see is very, very important to grasp and understand. Because when God is testing us, there are things he wants us to see. So, one of the reasons for tests is that God observes that there's certain things we're not seeing. So he brings a test to cause us to see certain things about the condition that we are in as man or as a human being. And so he says that they may see that they themselves are like the animals. So there's supposed to be a distinction between human beings and animals. Now, when you remove God from the equation, there is no difference between human beings and animals. There is no difference. The distinction between a human being and an animal is God. God inhabits human beings. He does not inhabit animals. God created a human being with a spirit. He did not create animals with a spirit. And so, when a human being falls into a condition where his spirit isn't functioning, his spirit is dead according to the scriptures, we are not saved. We have the potential to do the things that animals do. We have the potential to behave just like animals. I've got a number of friends that I interact with, and we talk about just how life has changed and how people are behaving. And you look at the behavior with regards to sex, with regards to violence, with regards to a lot of things, that people now are just like animals. The difference is we put aside God. We put aside the grace of God. Ladies and gentlemen, may I announce that we need the grace of God in our lives to be saved. Without God's grace, we are insane. That's exactly who we are. So when God brings these tests, which is one of the reasons why bad things happen to good people, is to bring an awakening. And in fact, if anything, let's say this. We look at the things that happen in our lives as bad because we are looking at them from the point of view or the perspective of a human being. But from God's perspective, those things are not bad. So even when we ask ourselves the question, why do bad things happen to good people? What perspective are we looking at those events from? Now, I personally, and I can make myself as a testimony, I've had a number of things that have happened in my life that I considered they were horrible. I even concluded that God was mean. He didn't love me. He didn't care about me. I'm talking about having lost loved ones, having lost a father, and then not too long after that, losing a mother, and not too long after that, losing an older sister, an older brother, and then you look at relatives around me, or just vanishing, just going, just like that, as if their lives don't matter. And I came to a point where I said, you know what, I just think that God doesn't love me. Because the question was, why is this happening to me? Now, partly we answer that with this scripture, that God tests us. But at the end of the day, after the tests, what God actually wants or is looking for is an acknowledgement that, yes, God, I need you. Without you, I can't be a good person. So when you ask the question, why do bad things happen to good people? The question is, when you put God aside, are you really a good person? When you put God aside, because even I myself personally, the good things that I've done, the sanity that I've put out there, the things that people say are good about me, trust me, it's only because of God. If I was to just get out of myself, take vengeance upon people that have offended me, that have done me wrong and all of that, there is nothing to write home about my life. It's all just God's grace. And so sometimes all of these things happen to give us the realization that there isn't anything good about a human being. And God has to do what it takes to shake a man, to awaken a man to righteousness. And sometimes it takes those bad things happening to awaken us to realize that we need God in our lives. What we now need to realize, when Solomon says that they may see, it is hoped that when we see the pathetic condition that we're in, how helpless we are against guarding ourselves from sin, the tendency to sin, the tendency to hurt other people, the tendency to live a life that disadvantages other people or taking advantage of other people, could be directly or indirectly. If we don't see that pathetic condition that we are in, that Lord, I can't help myself, I need your grace, I need you to empower me, I need you to fill me and help me stay away from wickedness, or help me do things right, or help me do the right thing. If we don't see that, then we have no hope. So the tests is to show us that we need God, is to see how deplorable we are, how helpless we are, and then go to God and say, Lord, I just need your help. That's one of the purposes of why God tests us. And I hope that God will grant you grace even by this understanding. Remember, understanding will keep you. So have a good day. Like I always say, if you can't have a good day, at least have a day. Count your blessings. In Jesus' name, God bless you.